snap. I think it's another brief moment in time when we get to see the change of the tides. The shifted, twisted bit technology showcasing the little bits of safety, while the quick trips are surely randomly sparking the photons around me. Let the light flow from the heat, yo. When the photons ignite, highlighting, yo, then you know it's that time when we force a change in tides. A little bit lined with something in us. It's almost like we something else, autonomous, or maybe perhaps it's that missing piece you needin'. Perhaps it's that simple message you searching. Perhaps it's just a different time framing us for the next adventure in the mainframe. Getting excited, so are the photons. Don't laminate so we can change the coupon. Let me raise the hash rate, submit the coupon fake, and reduce the rate while we mine our major bags. Crypto technology like cryptographic money will hash in your life into a set of QRs. It doesn't matter cause it's time for 3D changes perspectives. Welcome to the show. Welcome to the show. Welcome to the show.
Welcome to the show, everybody. It is me, 3D, and yes, I'm going to try to change your perspective today about, well, something, right? Okay, so, this is kind of like a continuation from what we've been doing the past couple of episodes. So there are almost always varying perspectives about everything, right? Especially constructs of stuff like Bitcoin and cryptocurrency. So today I want to look at perspectives of Bitcoin, and we are going to ask questions, is it FUD or based? Are these perspectives we're looking at FUD, or are they based? And however, unlike giving like a single rating, which is what we normally do, we don't normally give a single rating. But this one today, there were so many points and so much to talk about. I actually had to reverse this, and I had to do today as a single rating. I had to look at today's perspective in more than one viewpoint, view light. I had to watch more than one thing with this person, and each one took many hours. And throughout this whole process, taking notes, after about the second video, I realized this is gonna have to be broken down into a single clump thing. We've never done this before. We almost always break their perspectives down individually because normally it's a bunch of clustered individual perspectives grouped together to make an ideal argument. In this case, it's nothing like that. It's a little bit more complicated, and we're going to reduce it down as simplifying as possible. We're going to simplify today. And it just kind of, whenever there's FUD or base, we have to back it. We have to say, these are the reasons why. And we're going to do that today. So we're still going to have all the reasons why. And then you'll have to find out what it is, I guess, whenever it is. So that's the difference for today compared to the other ones. And, like always, let's first go through the partnerships and sponsorships. Okay, so I want to thank Deorganized for teaming up with Bitcoin Live Digital Broadcasting DB, because Bitcoin Live DB and Deorganized is a powerhouse combo. I do see new heights for both organizations. Now, if you haven't checked out any of the Deorganized early morning broadcasts for stocks and other topics that seem to be pretty much be taking off every morning and every evening, well, you can find them on Twitter and a bunch of other social media platforms. Basically, anywhere you're watching this except for Odyssey. I don't think they go on Odyssey. I do. And then I want to thank today's sponsor, which I want to thank Shield Folio for sponsoring today's episode from within a quantum bit, as well as the Bitcoin Live TV network. Now, if you haven't seen a Shield Folio, they're like a little black book that are made from stone paper. So they're fade resistant, tear resistant, and even water resistant. So the info and secrets you store on your Shield Folio will last as 5, whatever you throw at it. And I personally own a Shield Folio, and I use it for websites, info, contact keys, crypto keys, among other things I don't want on my computer or online. So they're like these little black books that are pocket-sized, ready to be by your side, regardless of your adventure in real life or online. And personally, I actually, honestly do use these, love them. Now, you see a giant QR code on your screen, you see a small QR code on the screen, they're the same QR code. Basically, you can scan that QR code or go to their website, showfill.com, and purchase one of these books, get some stuff, use the code Bitcoin Live 20 to get 20% off your purchase from there, and then go ahead and start protecting your info. That's right, protecting your info. That's what it's all about. Now, we'll have this QR down on the bottom throughout the entire episode, and the code Bitcoin Live 20 to remind you that's what all it takes. You go up, scan, jump in, find it, enjoy yourself, and then use checkout Bitcoin Live 20 to get 20% off today. All right, so pretty much the QR thing is how we do everything here today. So after we roll with the roll-ins, I'll show you what we're talking about. Thank you again, Shield Filio, for sponsoring today's episode. Okay. Nice. So what we're going to do... Oh, I hit the wrong button. Here. Okay. So you see that QR code right there? Now if you scan that, it'll go ahead and take you to Deorganized Media. And you can just check out what I was talking about earlier, actually. This is a great way to point out that if you don't know who Deorganized Media is, you go live almost every day. They got Bitcoin, morning stacks, all sorts of fun, neat things. Go check them out. So it's your daily hookup from what's digitally popping. We were talking about them earlier. Well, you can scan this QR. You can always come back later after the show and just scan it with your phone or use an OCR reader on your desktop. And you get the QR and follow along. We don't always, the links, sometimes YouTube goes through and just destroys them because I have so many. So we don't always have proper links in the description like we put in there. So this is our backup plan. We've been doing this for a long time. Go ahead and you can do this with almost all of our episodes, almost every single one we've been doing this. So there's always a way for people to follow along. And we're going to actually start into it. So we're going to give away a free pre-search query. If you don't know what pre-search is, it's just an easy way to search stuff. They got this AI thing that's kind of, I say generic, but I don't really know. I know it does a bunch of fun stuff. Like today, I asked it, today's free pre-search query, which is, explain the similarities of the crypto financial sector as the credit card and credit system financial sector. Like always, I did not use this query in today's episode research, but that doesn't mean we won't have some overlapping links. If anything about today's episode interests you, this free pre-search query work should actually help you find more about it. So just reply to this after the show and scan the QR again with your mobile phone or OCR, and it will just get you started in this new rabbit hole. Okay, so I got a little note. It says when I reach a thing, boom. Whenever we see this, well, it just means we need to catch you up. We got some deets. We got some background. We got something going on. And also, all right, I'm going to make a quick tangent. So I've been making a change over to Linux because Windows just completely died on me. And during a backup or something like that. So I'm going to restore back to factory. It just completely died. So I've been on Linux now. And not too long ago, I found out how to get, I got because I have a dual GPU thing on my desk, it's a laptop. And I have not been able to get a good controller for it. I had a controller that let me do a little bit. But just recently, a lot of the really little bits I was doing with it was just completely removed out of that old controller. And it wasn't doing an update or anything. There was just a bunch of files self-deleted or something. And it was I think it was just a limited time thing. I don't really know. But instead of re-downloading it and having to deal with it again, I went ahead and found a solution around it, and there's it's just really nice. So you're starting to see a little bit more reaction from my model and stuff. We're gonna learn how to do better, because I think someone was telling me I can get a separated voltage regulator for it, and I'm gonna try to do that. Because we can only run a stock amount of electricity to the computer, so I can't even run a lot of games right now. That's why we've been playing the same one game, because I haven't been able to play Oblivion in months. Literally. and we're getting that corrected. And what the biggest problem is like there was the GPU was one GPU. Like the GPU in the machine was A. I was told I was getting GPU B, and I ended up getting GPU C. Problem is GPU C is older than A, and A is older than B. So the Linux was actually able to determine that it's actually a GPU B, not a GPU C. Or no, it's a GPU A, not a GPU C. And it's like they were playing some kind of trickery when they sold me the laptop. But it's fine. We got that. We got a lot of stuff fixed. GPU has been the only real issue, and we're slowly working on it. So, when we get into today's episode, what we're saying is everyone has an opinion on Bitcoin. It doesn't matter if they use it or not. So, one of the reasons why some of us in the cryptocurrency space, like for long periods of time, we kind of look at these perspectives with a yeah or nah. We look at it like a yes or no point of view. And this is because information is like an attack vector. If 1,000 people online say, A, then it becomes searchable, then if any perspective that is searchable, it may trend one day. And if that happens, then it may be spoken about in mass media. Now, if something is spoken about in mass media, even if untrue, may become self-fulfilling prophecy. So by fighting data with data, we can sway in which way the mass media may potentially talk about it. So that's what we're doing today. We're really just fighting data with data. So we're 'cause even if it's like we go, oh, we think everything about this person says is completely false, data with data. If we think everything they say is true, data with data, because we're going to back up everything we talk about. So first off, we're going to go into about the person, kind of get perspective about the person, and then we'll go into their actual perspective they give us today that we're going to cover. Talked about what we're going to talk about last week. We actually gave a different clip that related us to the same video. So it's all good gravy and purple, I want to say. I don't know. Green. Yes. Okay. So here we are. This is Simon Dixon. This is his Twitter profile. That's kind of how we did everybody. We just looked at their Twitter profile. So we're going to zoom in. Yep. So we can see, at the top, his banner, investor, geopolitical, financial analyst, Bitcoin OG, some stuff, right? Now, we always base really people off this bit down here. I just want to bring up that it gives you all that up there because I did take that into consideration. I always write these little, I always look at their bio and I try to determine what their perspective is going to be before I look at any of their stuff. That's actually what I do. So I did consider this part up here, and I do consider the link. Okay. So we see long-term crypto person. It directly says this is in the bio. Yeah. Left investment bank 2006, launched Bank to the Future in 2010, spoke at the first Bitcoin conference, and published the first Bitcoin book in 2011. He's an angel investor, 100% Bitcoin company. 2 Bitcoin companies. Cool. I don't know if it's 100% like the Bitcoin plus Bitcoin, I don't know, whatever. So and I always hover over the objects, which there's no actual, like a lot of people, they have special objects and stuff. So a little bit unique there. But like we just see the fact that they left, they found crypto, then they published stuff on Bitcoin. They're self-proclaimed angel investor, and with Bitcoin and companies. And so he's a wealth builders community, and oh yeah, that's at the bottom. Yeah, he's got a Bitcoin wealth builders community. So it's safe to say he's got like a business centered around Bitcoin. I think that was that one. I was like, it's obvious he's business around Bitcoin, right? Okay. Okay, so this is his website. This was in his bio. Every time they have a link in the bio, we check it out. This is this. All right, I can't zoom in. Retard. So you can see it goes down to his videos, and we'll look at it. I don't have any actual notes on him. You can see this is website. So we sure have business around Bitcoin. Yeah, so I don't really see anything in there. It's a different view. Okay. Yeah, he just says go scroll down to his videos. Yeah, scroll down to his videos. That's basically what it seems like. We're going into, we see socials. There is like all feels like one giant button. So okay, it does work, but it just seems to relate to his YouTube. So that's where we ended up, right? On his YouTube. And there is about a 5-minute section in this entire 3-hour live stream that we want to review. So now, keep in mind, if there's anything about this that interests you, that makes you think a little bit, even if you're like, oh my gosh, maybe after today's episode, when you have time, come back, scan that QR, go to his live stream, and check it out. I actually have a note. Okay, I got a note for after he's done talking about this. So I'm just going to go ahead and play the clip, and then we'll give you the context, and then we'll show you the proofs. Because I think it's important to point that out so everybody understands this is going to be under fair use. I'm not going to just let it run and not say anything. We're going to do all the talking afterwards.
Surveillance state for this technical industrial complex. Now, we had a little bit of beef between Greenland and North America, with Canada in the middle. And so we're going to be covering the Canada side. But Canada is becoming a way of unifying American interests in the Western Hemisphere, which are represented, which is essentially a proxy for the financial industrial complex, all the private equity, the fund managers, the banks, the institutions, the investment banks, and that complex and derivatives complex and market manipulators, and China Sovereign Wealth Fund and the Gulf Sovereign Wealth Funds that we've been covering. This is essentially the new transnational capital that is able to use capital flows in order to get all the nodes in the World Economic Forum and the Proof of Weapons Network to push in the direction of moving towards multipolarity. And if anyone goes off track, you have the blackmail rings like Jeffrey Epstein and various other things where you can leak some emails and remind people that they need to be going on track. You can also knock people's share price off of the derivatives complex, making them get less access to index ETF funds, your pension, your insurance. You can use the media in order to, weaponize capital raising events. For example, the massive AI bubble with the Magnificent Seven stocks that then needed a correction because it was covering too much of the S&P. And so you had a narrative and the stress with the Federal Reserve that kind of reset and moved more of the S&P.
I do want to point, this is an important part that we want to take. He's talking about how money is going to be moved, okay? And how one thing is being used as an indicator to another thing or something else to happen. So that way you don't need people sitting there going, you do this, you do that. There's an understanding of like ranges of what to do. When in these ranges do X thing. When in these ranges do. And he's breaking this stuff down. We do want to listen to just a couple more minutes. I just feel like we need to step in, say something real quick. Because the context of what he's saying a lot of broad stroke things. And keep it in mind like that for what we're talking about. And you'll see.
Towards the energy stocks and the infrastructure stocks. But of course, the whole thing needs to be funded by money printing. And so we transition from quantitative tightening to quantitative easing. You had the first signs of that. But the problem is in fiscal dominance is that you have high growth because you're essentially printing money like crazy, pumping up the stock market, and you're trying to offset some of that inflation. Artificial intelligence is going to move into an unemployment cycle. You need to get the price of oil down to offset some of that inflation, or you need to tax more through tariffs to take money out of the supply. And because America is an importing country, it means that those tariffs suck money out because it's a tax on small American businesses. They get merged and acquired up to the top of the multinational corporate structure. And then the financial industrial complex is able to vassalize through the K-shaped economy. The rich get richer, the poor get poorer. Everything goes into pumping up those stocks. Eventually, you have to offset some of this inflation by getting the price of oil down. And so you have these big geopolitical events in terms of managing these portfolio. Now, one of the side effects of this is that the financial industrial complex, the FIC, has negotiated co-investment deals in everything with the Gulf sovereign wealth funds. And so right now, the sovereign wealth funds, which are kind of part of the FIC, have become a part of the infrastructure. So therefore, you create a global nature, which is no UK first, no America first, no European first. And essentially, it's just about rolling over the debt on the people so that they can pay the credit card bill, so that their savings go down and they get stripped out of assets as the stock markets go up. Now, because
My notes said we have about a minute left. What he said, vital, important point.
the sovereign wealth funds are now influential, for example, Saudi Aramco CEO is on the board of BlackRock as a seat position. They're able to influence US policy. America has sold $65 trillion of its assets to foreign control. Now, remember the structure. Those that control the shares influence the board. The board has the executives that work for them, like Larry Fink and Elon Musk. And then underneath that, you have management and structure. Now, the finance makes sure that you can subordinate the executives, whereby you can manipulate their share price, incentivize them where the share price goes up, then you get more value. And you can laden them up with debt by making them borrow against their debt. For example, Elon would borrow against his Tesla stock to acquire X. And now you can use X to make sure that the NSA, the deep state, has access to all the data. And you combine it with all the Doge data. And then you build out this social credit score in this vast artificial intelligence empire, integrate it with the crypto stable coins, and combine it with Grok and all the AI. Now, that requires a lot of energy, a lot of data centers, and that's what we're witnessing right now.
All right. That is the information we needed from this man. So this is like it's kind of like the end plan. Okay? It's kind of like the end plan. So, let's see. All right, I have notes. It says he's not really lying. Probably the first like base take we've seen in a while, and so this honestly is more out of practice than knowledge. From like what I'm saying is like he's not making like sometimes he's making like predictive type situational arguments, but never is he lying. A large portion of what he's saying is actually history. And there's a chance that he doesn't remember it or he doesn't realize it, but I'm pretty sure he has came up with this concept based on like, well, the last few times we've seen something that appeared out of nowhere that allowed an entire country to elevate its GDP and its elevated wealth and value, and through some form of false currency. By false, I mean it's not like how we used to handle currency. I actually go into that, so I won't go any further with that. but we're going to actually talk about this directly. So let me give you the link to this one more time. Like, it's important you have it. But I don't want to show you guys ads. I do everything I can not to give you guys ads. So you have more information. There you go. There you go. We're moving on. Okay, so let's review some history on this. Later called new financial sector. So there was a point in time where credit became something called a new financial sector. And it's credit. Okay? So we're going to read, when was credit cards invented? All right, yeah. Oh, we're here. The credit card was invented February 1950 with the launch of the Diners Club card, founded by Frank Amara. The idea originally came after Amara forgot his wallet during a business dinner in the late 1949. Determined to create a cashless solution, he partnered with Wells Sweeney and Mal Simmons to form Diners Club. The card was initially a charge card, requiring full payment at the end of each month, and it can be used at 27 New York City restaurants. So Frank Amara created the first credit card in 1950 with that Diners Club card. The ideal came from him after blah blah. We just read that, right? So it did revolutionize how consumers paid for services and goods. So what else do I care about? Okay, yeah, I gotta go scroll down. I don't care about that. I didn't think so. Okay, yeah. So there are several types of credit cards actually, including standard cards, rewards cards, such as like cashback credit cards and travel cards, secured cards, which is like you make a deposit and for building credit, student cards, obviously designed for college students, right? And then charge cards, which are requiring payment at the end of the month. So rewards credit cards are look, we're not going to go into each one of those. What am I doing? So we want to go down. 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 No. Yes. Credit cards become popular for the convenience, flexibility, and security. Unlike cash or checks, credit cards allowed for seamless, quick payments and later enabled online transactions. With the addition of rewards programs, cashbacks, and a wide merchant acceptance, credit cards solidified their place as the go-to payment solution for consumers. So you have this nice little thing right here. Let me give you guys this link, this QR again. Because, I mean, this is a really great website. I mean, it's set up pretty nice, right? It's giving you the lowdown. Now, they really do give you a lot of information. Let's look through here. 1950, they got the first card. Okay, then they have the first plastic credit card in 58. 66 begins some kind of expansion, becomes Visa. Interbank forms MasterCard. Then the IBM gets introduced in 79 with that magnetic strip thing. Then in 96, the very first widely cited secure online card transaction is completed on the internet. In 03, the EMV chips allowed to start to replace magnetic chips. That's really just now starting to take hold. And then 2014, Apple Pay launches, and 2020, digital wallets, network tokenizations, and NFC card become standard for everyday payments. A lot of people probably never even realized this last part. 2020s, digital wallets, network tokenization, and NFC cards became. Do you know what else had standardized digital wallets, network tokenization, and NFC cards before 2020? Bitcoin. They stole from Bitcoin. You can thank Bitcoin for you guys having digital wallets in the fiat system. This actually, when I found this, and it actually proves, because like we had all three of these by like 2018 in the Bitcoin network. My dad had a Bitcoin card that's through NFC to do network-based tokenization transactions through a digital wallet in order to use Bitcoin. because it's just a simplified, like, dude, boop, done. Like, scan another like, it's super simple. So, and one of my friends, Kenneth Bozak, actually helped get us that card, and it's been a dream. Like, when we needed, I can just scan a little QR on his card, and I can send him Bitcoin whenever I need to pay him stuff. He can just use his Bitcoin like it's kind of like a credit card on, but you guys can thank Bitcoin for giving you guys that. All right, now it says, let's see, yeah, that's right. See, here's something that I know for sure we stole from credit cards. This is something that we did a long time. Oh, listen, 1865, 1865, early signs of credit cards. The first charge coins were issued, kickstarting modern credit card history. These coins allowed customers to pay at the time of the purchase without cash. These were tremendously popular in the farming industry during western expansion, and allowed farmers to wait until they harvest to pay their bills. Um, okay, there's more down here if you really want to get into it. We're not getting into it. That, I thought that was really neat. Basically, you would get these little coins and you could use them, and then you would buy those coins back from people. And you know, they told you your bill because, well, you gave them the coin, right? So I find this, basically this is the last time. This is what he's referencing. He remembers a lot of the stuff that happened, maybe in the, you know, the middle and late ages of the stuff, like the 2003 to 2014 stuff. He remembers that, you know, no, he was out before then. So the maybe the 79 to 03, that old. I mean, somewhere before 96. Yeah, you know, like, he saw these different things. He's got to see the credit cards go online and all this other stuff. And so then when he got out and then saw Bitcoin and was like, "Holy crap! There's a bank online. There is not there's a bank base online." Okay, you know, and then no wonder he went for it. Right? It was pretty obvious. This shows his intent. This shows that, okay, here's all the stuff that if you were in banking, you would have known this information. Then you would have saw Bitcoin. You'd have been like, "Holy crap! This is just like the solution." Um, and so it would make sense why he got into Bitcoin. But at the same time, this is what he's referencing in the video. There's a lot of stuff that he's talking about. Even some of the stuff that happens in the Middle East and stuff already happened during the credit card system. The credit card system actually broke ways into the Middle East, and it broke ways into other countries like never before, because it was like a direct trade communication factor that allowed these countries to be like, "Oh, so wait, we can benefit from visitors? Yeah, they're spending their money. We get 1% in it, right?" You know what I mean? Like, duh. So let me give you this link again. I'm going to go to the next part. All right. When were credit scores invented? This is really, really important. It's only the first little bit we need to read. If you really like this, you can always come back and read some more. So credit scores, as we know them today, are a relatively modern invention. The FICO scores, that just happened. Okay. As we know them today, a relatively modern invention. The FICO scores that most American consumers have encountered were launched in 1989, built on specialized credit score systems that originated in 1950. The concept of credit evaluation has roots that stretch back centuries. Understanding the history helps explain something. No, what we care about is this right down here. In an 1834 speech, the U.S. Senator Daniel Webster said this: "Commercial credit is the vital air of the system. It has done more, 1,000 times more, to enrich nations than all the mines of the world." Now, what is he saying here? Like, okay, we can read the literal point, you know, but all I really hear is credit invented money out of thin air. And that really is what it did. Before credit, all the gold, national resources, producible products, and what determined the wealth and value of a country. Okay, It's all your gold, metals, precious metals and precious stones, your natural resources, and your producible products used to be a part of what you considered your country's wealth. But then credit opened up an avenue that, as he claimed, would enrich nations more than all the mines of the world. And since that was the way to determine wealth and value for credit, well, now credit, he's really attaching credit to that, right? It can enrich it more than all of them. So why even bother getting more gold? Credit just solves your problem, bro. That's what he's really saying. And I'm sure you can say I'm stretching here, but if you consider what Simon said earlier and what they're saying here and how they align, the lower 99% will pay the bills of the top 1% through credit. Now, my notes say credit by bills, but let's be honest. There is another way to say it, though. So, let's try that. Okay, this says 13 million U.S. households have negative net worth. Will they ever move from debt to wealth? Read intro and title. Okay, yeah. So the share of the U.S. households with negative net worth, meaning that the amount of debt they owe exceeds the value of all the assets they own, jumped above its historical trend during the Great Recession of 2007-2009. It never returned to normal. Technically, it's still going on right then. As of 2019, 10.4% of households, about 13 million, had negative net worth. As part of the Aspen Institutional the AIFS, no wonder they didn't want to put, okay, program's ongoing extermination of the future wealth in America. We used the survey of the SCF to explore as a negative. They liked it. All right, so they went through and they're just like, okay, that's just showing you where they get their data. Okay. All right. Just basically explain where the data came from. Okay. So that's the other way to say this. 13 million in the U.S. now have negative net worth. And the way this, if you go look, yeah, they have a graph. So we can go only back to the 1990s. We can't go any further than that to see if we had less negative net worth before the credit cards. I'm sure there would be something somewhere, but I really didn't care to find it because basically this hints at that there would be. It would be a lot less negative net worth before credit cards. Credit cards have gained consumer negative net worth more than anything. Actually, I would say since the start of credit, there's been a lot of problems that have existed because of it. And you could even say a lot of issues in society were discovered because of it. And laws had to be made to base them out. So let me explain this. Early 1800s, trust-based borrowing. Businesses could now borrow based on word of mouth. Panic of 1837, overextension of credit, a depression caused by merchants lending too much credit at once. Their own issue. They caused their own problem, right? 1841, Louis Tappan founds Mercantile Agency. Tappan set out to systematize, I can't even say these words sometimes, systematically set rumors regarding debtors' character and assets, soliciting information from correspondents through the county. Tappan Agency distilled these reports to massive ledgers in New York City. 1857, Bradstreet's innovation. Bradstreet creates a commercial credit rating system based on history of misinformational facts. That sounds stupid as fuck. 1864, R.G. Dunn and Company's alphabetic credit system. Weird. Where's the other place we know a company alphanumeric credit system? You already know what it is. What am I saying? The Mercantile Agency named R.G. Gunn at the eve of the Civil War. That's a long time ago. finalize an alphanumeric system to measure commercial credit worthiness. On the eve of the Civil War, so like the start of the Civil War, or the end of the Civil, I believe it's just before the Civil War, finalize an alphanumeric system for measuring commercial credit worthiness. Now, could in any way, shape, or form a system exist that wants to be able to put some amount of worthiness against your commercial company? Why would Southern companies have a problem with that? Like, think about that for 20 seconds. If we're going to base this information on, like it says here, we go back up, some of this is based on debtors, character, and assets. So you have to be audited. Seems weird, right? And it is kind of odd about this war thing, but it comes in. So I think that's as far as we really, like, let's read this. Oh my gosh, I forgot about this. The birth of FICA. What does FICA really stand for? Fair, Isaac and Company. It was two Americans with the belief that data could change the financial industry. And it really did, right? Even if you look with Bitcoin, it is a different way to do the data. It's a different way to look at the data, and it definitely does make a difference. So the National Consumer Financial Association used a short film called Wise Use of Credit in the 1960s. And I would say that's a propaganda thing to get people to start using credit more. 1960s early credit system scoring algorithms came out. The first credit scoring algorithms were used for individual businesses and their unique customer base. Customers sold 30-day credit to charge accounts to their local stores. So 1968 comprehensive data collection, Atlanta's retail credit company revealed plans to computerize its creditworthiness records, which included not just data on credit, capital, and character, but information on individuals' social, political, and sexual lives as well. So basically, the credit score system has always been a social score system. Let me see. Where am I at? I'm at this one. Weird. Yeah, I'll get into that more in a minute. So, truth above all, the Truth in Lending Act was passed to protect consumers against inaccurate and unfair credit billing and credit card practices. It requires lenders to provide you with loan cost information so you can comprehensive shop for certain types of loans. Okay, so laws are now being placed. Okay, so 1970, the Fair Credit Reporting Act introduces protections around the data that lenders could use and store. So that way they couldn't store like your sexual preferences. This is like removing the social system out of that social system. 1974 Equal Credit Opportunity Act made it illegal to deny based on the credit. Some more of that removing social crap out of the social crap. They could just remove the credit system, you know what I mean? But 1988 Fair Credit and Charge Card Discourse Act amended the Truth in Lending Act, required new disclosures about information connected with credit cards and charge cards, account obligations, and solicitations. So basically, they can see when and you do have cards when you've been soliciting them. Okay, that makes sense. It's a bit more how it should be, right? So 1989 FICO scores as we know it. This is when the Fair Isaac Corporation introduced the first consumer credit score. This was the first industrial standard credit system used to evaluate all consumers. Okay. That's crazy, isn't it? It turns out the credit system has always really been there to be some form of social credit, social system. It's terrible. And this one, right? So the Panic of 1837 was a financial crisis in the United States that began with the Major Depression. It lasted until up to the 1840s. Profits, prices, and rates throughout the Western expansion. It stalled unemployment rose and abound. So the panic had both domestic and foreign origins. Lending practice in the West, sharp decline in cotton prices, and collapsing land bubble. International specie flows and restrictive lending policies in Britain were all factors. The lack of central bank to regulate fiscal matters, which President Andrew Jackson had ensured by not extending the character of the second bank of the United States, was also key. Okay, so there was like a lot of stuff to get to this Panic of 1837. So then, why did it come down to the banks basically caused it, right? So the alien economy of the 1837 led to investors to panic, and a bank run ensued, giving the crisis its name. The bank run came to a head. So this was the first time this ever happened, where everybody went to the bank and was like, money, money, get my money out now so they can't charge me. They immediately suspended specie payments. Damn. They used to allow fake money and would no longer redeem commercial paper at full value. Okay. So significant economic collapse, despite a brief recovery in 1838. So as you can see, it really came down to like there was these fake monies. So there was like literally like an NFT situation, and literally like color coins, and banks were literally allowing that as that money at full value at one time. Just to show you how bad all of this credit system really was. That these things allow for that because it's all based on that. Okay. So I asked, hey, which words did we enter that had credit increase as a factor? And these are the ones that came up. U.S. entered Civil Wars, World War I, II, and Vietnam. Now, wait a minute. That's not right. Is that right? Yeah, okay. Alright, I'm just thinking of the other one. My bad. Alright, so it just basically shows that war sometimes has a role in the U.S. gaining wealth. And this is the correlation I want to correlate later. Right? Okay, so let's go on to the next one. This is congress.gov. This is a summary of national federal debt, foreign holdings of federal debt. So as of December 24th, there was about 28.1 trillion of Treasury securities outstanding, from 20.9 trillion in 2020 of December, and then 7.2 trillion increase all rounded. During the same period, foreign holdings of debt increased by 1.2 trillion to approximately 8.5 trillion of foreign debt. After staying relatively flat in the dollar terms of several years, overall foreign holdings increased during, well, like right before COVID, during COVID, and then fell right after COVID technically ended for a lot of people. Then jumped back up in 2023. That's weird. And again, 2024. Okay, so really weird. Because total debts have increased, it's almost like we gave away money, right? It's like because total debts have increased faster than the debt held by foreigners, share of the federal debt held by foreigners has declined in recent years, so they were paying it off. In December 2024, foreigners held about 30% of the publicly held debt. Interest on the debt paid to foreigners in 2024 was about 236 billion. Foreign holdings can be divided into official governmental investments. Private sources about 3.8 trillion, or 44%, and then the U.S. foreign held by government sources and private investors. That's a total combined grouping right there. Is 55%. So the majority, so to speak, is majority technically 76. But including private investors and governments, there are top 3 estimated foreign holders. The federal debt by country. So, and this is by December 2024, so it's probably different by now. So Japan, about 1.1 trillion. Whole shitload. China, 0.8 trillion. Still a shitload. United Kingdom, 0.7 trillion. Okay? They're not going down by a whole lot. That's only 1 point. It's only 1 point lower, man. Okay, so based on these estimates, Japan holds approximately 12% of all foreign investment in the U.S. publicly held federal debt. China holds approximately 8.9, and the United Kingdom holds approximately 8.4, and they were reduced down. So so I wanted to point out that we, to this day, still have debt with other countries. And that's not all of them. Those are just the biggest ones, right? So there's still more. And the whole point of, well, wars cause us to gain wealth somehow. How was that? Well, which wars did the U.S. enter that directly caused an increase in the USA wealth as a country? And it turns out the Revolutionary War, the War of 1812, the Mexican-American War, the World War I, World War II, believe it or not, almost all the wars. Like, this isn't even all the wars. This is just like, these ones result in increase in production, trade, territory gains, and national wealth. The other ones, the ones after these, we didn't always gain territory. And that's the only difference. So, it's like, okay, so, to be honest, war almost always ends up with the winning country's a financial benefit, even though the peoples are normally not so financially beneficial as the country is. Just looking at the links below, war has 2 effects. People have less, the peoples have less, while the country as a federal structure has more. Now until World War I, the financial part of the financial part, the financial part was not the catalyst for World War II. But beyond, the U.S. did enter based on, and I have it on my notes here, I have to mention it. There was some amount of the U.S. chose to wait as long as it did. There was some amount of financial reasoning behind that. Like, I couldn't get enough proof to be able to say, yeah, this is where it was. I remember covering it in school and trying to find it. It was really difficult. I found some parts that kind of, they talk about it, but I couldn't find proof that I'd like to get. I couldn't find anything from the government or anything like that. But there was some, some amount of financial something was guaranteed to the president, or to the president for the U.S. if we assisted by a certain specific country. There's I think it was 1 or 2 countries that basically promised something, and that was considered their last straw, and the thing that made them go, okay, let's do it then. And I don't remember exactly what it was, but it was just proof of World War II did have some amount of financial reasoning for waiting. There's proof and stuff where you could say the U.S. didn't have they weren't financially in the right spot at the, right away, and then at the same time, other things. Because we're looking at this through the financial lens. Think about it like that. We're looking at it through the financial lens. Okay. So, I don't want to continue on or go any further. without saying that, well, we can say without a doubt the credit system in the USA isn't really liked by by everybody inside the USA. And it does have its criticisms. Laws were actually passed multiple times to make the system more fair and less socialist. Honestly, the credit score system is just one form of social score. Probably the least bad part of it, yeah. But you still have to remove the socialist parts out of that system. And so at this point, I expect there to be three conditions. Well, hold on. Before I say that, I got one with it. It's after a math note. Based on the fact that it's a socialist system by nature, we can look at other socialist systems and get a determination of what's going to happen. It is going to take control. It is going to disrupt, remove what you remember, add in what it believes you should remember, and then make that the base. So that way you don't know. So like, how many people out there remember what it's like to never have a credit card, not have to worry about finance fees, APIs, or anything like that? You just don't even care about it because you don't do with it. Because like nowadays, it seems to be a smaller and smaller amount of Americans and a smaller and smaller amount of global citizens that even have a clue what that is like. There's so many people in debt all across the globe. So, we were saying, at this point, I expect you to have three conditions pondering amongst your head right now. I expect you to be like, he's thinking one of three things. Oh, you're thinking one of three things. Okay, so here's the first thing you could be thinking. How does any of this have to do with cryptocurrency and Bitcoin being used by companies to get regulations passed to attempt to control Bitcoin and the entire cryptocurrency sector as a whole to enrich the USA federal government as a whole? You could also maybe perhaps be thinking, well, what does credit have to do with Bitcoin? Or the last thing that you could be thinking is, oh snap, they haven't figured out the connection yet. He said it number one of these ponder questions. So let's connect the dots. Let's do something, okay? Bitcoin is a financial sector. Altcoins are a financial sector that individually are potentially worth more than all of the credit system. So as people started demanding regulations, then that was the sign that control was on. Of course, Bitcoin is how you use it. So people are setting up credit within crypto. Not only because crypto stands for cryptography first and cryptocurrency second. This will protect the systems legally by being encrypted. Sure, this can prevent a company with major supercomputers, AI, or even quantum power from attacking the entire crypto financial sector. It really can. But it also does come with new issues and new problems. But if you use your Bitcoin wallet without the credit, meaning you use fresh wallets, you keep up with the OG way of handling your crypto via multiple keys, backups, offline, on and on and on, then you're fine. There's just a few more hoops you should be used to. But if you're using Bitcoin connected with a credit score where you have to jump through extra hoops compared to other people, you have to consider things like you're going to have to start asking people who are going to pay you in crypto about their credit score, or crypto score, actually. And if you're a business that accepts crypto and fiat, there's a chance eventually the fiat side is going to want that crypto score. And so if you're not asking for it, you won't be able to do fiat at all. Let's go to this. Decentralized credit scoring has surfaced as a new approach in the ever-evolving consumer credit space. While drawing parallels to the traditional credit scoring, decentralized credit scoring sets itself apart by evaluating the financial activity of the behavior of the users within the blockchain ecosystem. Blockchain technology has been fueling this transformation as serving as the backbone for the diverse range of the financial products and services known as the DeFi. DeFi lending in particular has been thriving in recent years. However, the pseudonym nature of the blockchain coupled with the inherent volatility of crypto assets has resulted in the absence of reliable means of risk assessment for the DeFi loan processing. Consequently, a common practice of relying on over-collateralized loans has emerged, limiting access to DeFi, even to those with substantial collateral. This is being shown as a solution to a problem, which is that not enough people are able to use crypto loans in the DeFi space because of how over collateralized you have to be, and it's still even shaky receiving from just as much as it is to send to. So remember when I said like laws had to be put in place to make it more fair? Well, of course, that will happen to crypto. Basically, everything that happened to credit cards will happen to cryptocurrency, but as a whole. Not everyone seems to know that credit cards was invented by a sole person for a simple reason. The first cryptocurrency, Dark Coin, okay, was invented. Okay, let me rephrase that. Dark Coin is the very first cryptocurrency. The very first cryptocurrency, known as Dark Coin, was invented by a sole person for a simple reason. Both these reasons are the same, even though they are different. Both wanted a new way to pay. One was because he forgot his wallet. The other was because he didn't want to leave his house. Now, over time, eventually, a better way to cryptocurrency came, known as Hashcash. And the people using Hashcash invented multiple systems to make it more fair, which fueled the fire for a sole system that handled these various ways Hashcash users kept Hashcash fair. So it got wrapped into a protocol with randomness and uncertainty, but then minutes later, it says something to inform all that all is fine. Well, that's Bitcoin. Not the first cryptocurrency, but the first with enough working parts and no extra fluff to work efficiently. 2012 came, and by the peoples not involved in Bitcoin helped secure Bitcoin in ways the original writer could not do, and granted Bitcoin to the devs that uphold it. To this day, most of the dev work truly is randomly submitted, then figured out how to work through registered maintainers. Welcome to the new side of the credit score. It's called registered maintainers, and it's been in Bitcoin for so long they stopped listening. They cut miners' voices off a long time ago. I remember I wasn't allowed to do something one time in the Bitcoin community or whatever because I didn't have enough Bitcoin to buy for the thing, and I was like, whoa. Why do I have to buy for it? I mine. I can just write on the blockchain that I mined. How it should let me in. Oh, you actually have to pay. What? It was no longer the same way. It had changed. Well, people are just now realizing it ain't the same. But at the same time, Bitcoin is how you use it. It actually has nothing to do with all that. That is being put in other people to be able to use it their way. Okay. Alright, so I can understand how difficult this may be to understand that cryptocurrency is how you use it, but I can easily show you an example of another sector that formed the financial sector around it. Space. More specifically, satellites. Rideshare is a launch and deployment service that relies on third-party compatible launchers equipped with proprietary dispensers to release satellites into standard parking orbit. The service is ideal for missions where a precise deployment is not critical for mission success. Precision deployment is a launch and deployment service that relies on ION satellite carrier, a proprietary orbital transfer vehicle operated by Deorbit. A satellite is boarded on to ION, which transports it across orbits into its final operational slot. This service is essential for missions operating in highly customized orbits that are not served by rare rideshare launches. Precise deployment and phasing for constellations. Precise deployment and phasing for constellations is an advanced launch and deployment service designed for the satellite constellation operations to phase a batch of spacecraft quickly and safely along with one or more orbital planes. The service is enabled by on-satellite carrier, the Orbit, proprietary orbital transfer vehicle, which carries the satellite along its constellation's orbital plane. The release with each spacecraft in its assigned orbital slot. This strategy reduces significantly the time required to phase a batch of satellites along an orbital plane. So this is putting like a bunch upon a single plane, bringing forward the revenue generating phase of the mission and enabling optimal use of the spacecraft's life. Oh wait, you're not wanting to put spacecraft like in space? I mean, like, oh, keep in mind they got like insurance, mission. Now, I'm like, oh, that's extra crap. Goddamn. Like, all right, you're not wanting. You don't want to put them in space. Okay, we can get you connections on orbit. A completely different one has connections. Yeah, we got a whole nother service here that will talk to them for you. So there's already some out there that will do. There's already some out there that you just have to pay to get access to. It's that simple. How space as a service. For decades, space has been the realm of government agencies and elite aerospace giants, but a new model called space as a service is changing that. Much like how cloud computing lets companies rent server power and storage instead of buying their own data centers, space as a service allows businesses to rent access to satellites. Is it starting to make sense why Jeff Bezos was talking about putting, cloud servers in space? Is it starting to make sense why space satellites was on his mind so hard? Why people want to put GPUs in space? Space as a service. They want to use space as a service to give you a service in space so you can have service as a service, as space as a service for you. Like, dead serious. They want to, it's crazy. It's going to be stupid. Like, they want to put automated services in space in order to serve you as a service being ran as a space as service. It makes no sense. It's just like dumb. But it should tell you why they are really wanting it. It's just a new financial sector to tap into. That's all it really is. It has nothing else to do with anything else. But this means we really go back and you listen, okay? So let's be honest. Simon Dixon was in the banking system, right? And he left before finding Bitcoin and doing and now he's doing probably basically the same thing he was doing before Bitcoin. Okay. So sure, his take is based. His perspective is quite solid. But it's all from history. Sure, not everyone reads and not everyone knows, but from the way Simon Dixon talks, it's like he's had a personal journey through the discovery that the financial system is just a tool used by the federal government. So the last episode, I showed a piece of Simon Dixon, which had an ad for a business that is very scammy in nature. And I honestly think they show that the host and stuff did that with Simon Dixon in that ad to get to add more clicks. And I can't prove that. But all I can do is, because Simon is so based, people would just take the ad as real or as like legit. So what is the point of this episode, basically, right? I bet a lot of people are wondering that right now. First, cryptocurrency, especially Bitcoin, BTC, is how you use it. Sure, people are building ways for businesses to use Bitcoin right now. And that can be really scary, especially since this play was done before with the credit card and credit system. In space, any and all sectors of anything will be used, abused, and attacked by governments. But that doesn't mean it will work. Honestly, Bitcoin has been hit with some sort of attack for control before. We've seen it. We've actually seen hints of it multiple times. But now there might be proof of more of that in the Jeffrey Epstein files. So I do not know exactly what I'm covering in the next episode, but I will say it relates to both Simon Dixon, what he says in the video just before I played that video. So you might want to go back, use the keyword to actually watch his full video, or at least watch the first part, to see what might be inside those Jeffrey Epstein files. So, all about today's episode really was to show you he's saying Bitcoin is going to get, the government's going to try to take control of Bitcoin any way it can. The way it took control of the credit system was, well, the credit system was invented by the companies first. So all these companies were like in on each other to work to build their own money. And the government eventually regulated it to, they get part of that. Bitcoin doesn't have to have that happen. I know the BIP 110 is coming up, and it's probably one of the first steps of that potential grip hold on some of the Bitcoin users. And let's admit it, it sucks. But you can't let fears scare you. For example, is the credit system missing? No, it's still here. We still use it. People still have it. The fiat system was dead a long time ago. They got rid of it as soon as they started credit in the 70s. Listen to that timeline. 20-something years after credit cards, it took before it became like a big thing. There's a chance, even though they're putting in the threads now for things that a lot of people don't want in Bitcoin, they might not really take hold like what we expect it will do for another 20 years. By that time, Bitcoin will be almost completely, it will be about halfway through its supply. Well, no, by halfway through, I mean like, so I think we have 40 years left to be halfway through its last bits or whatever. And that's fine, because there'll be so much stake in Bitcoin, it won't matter. And that's actually kind of sort of what BIP 110 is showing. There's already such a high stake in the database of Bitcoin that it actually supersedes the value of the coins right now. And this is something I've been yelling for years. It's not about the value of the coins. It's about, can you write to the database? And it's starting to finally show that that matters. Simon Dixon is pointing out in that video data is just things slowly turned into data, became all about data. Even in the financial sector, credit became about data. So of course, it's gonna happen. But how? What's next? Well, that's next. I guess we're going to some history of what's up. We'll find out some more information next episode. It's gonna be crazy. And by crazy, I mean, I don't know, words. You know, like crazy. Okay.
Yo, did you think you know? Did you think you hold? Did you think something new? That's the goal, to see from a new degree and get the change your mind needs to find something new. Life suddenly is easy for many, but when a wall appears, sometimes up is all you see. So let 3D guide to the side, yo, where there's a door though. Just be careful on your way out, for the first step is a do-si-do. A little bit Linus with something different, it's almost like he's something else. And regardless of maybe, perhaps it was that missing piece you was needing. Maybe it was that simple message you was searching. Definitely it's just in different time for defraying our mental mind state, separating us from our own mental mind tank. Boom goes the blast of thought. Boom goes the last spark with part. Boom goes the mental mind tank. Don't your perspective hit on the way out. Don't let your directive stop you when you doubt. Don't let the dire detection stop you from being getting X-righted, so the photons are delighted. Don't hesitate so we can line up the hash rate. Let me surmise the time, submit the rate, and reduce the fakes while we mine our major bets. Crypto technology like cryptographic money, while hashing your life into a set of QRs. It doesn't matter, cause this was 3D changes perspectives. Thank you for joining the show. Please return next time for a new roll of perspective. Thank you for joining the show. Please return next time for a brand new perspective. Of perspective. Thank you for joining the show. Please return next time for a brand new perspective. Thank you for